Venezuela has more oil than any other nation on the planet. Hugo Chavez, its popular, outspoken president, has won landslide back-to-back election victories for the last 13 years. He spent billions of dollars helping the poor here. However, under his presidency, crime has spiraled out of control. 17,000 people were murdered here last year. Venezuela has become the kidnap capital of the world and one of the world's most corrupt countries. I've come here to try and understand how such an oil-rich nation has become one of the most violent on the planet.
I'm about to spend time on Venezuela's front line. I see the devastating reality of a gun culture out of control and witness the shocking truth behind a prison system in freefall. In 1999, Venezuela's President Hugo Chavez came to power with a socialist dream. His aim to mend the crumbling infrastructure, stop government corruption, improve poverty levels, and nationalize large parts of the private sector. But after 13 years in power, this oil-rich country is on the brink of chaos.
Most crimes in Venezuela go unreported. 90% of all murders go unsolved. There are between 10 and 14 million firearms in circulation here, which roughly works out to one every other person. I've come to a police station on the edge of one of the most notorious slums in Caracas to find out how difficult it is to police the most dangerous capital in the world.
Caracas has a population of just over 3 million. Most live in the poor and dangerous barrios that wind through the city like a serpent.
This disused sports hall is the main police station outside Petare, and it covers an area called Sucre. And basically, there are 1,100 police officers here to police a community of 1,700,000 citizens. That works out to around 1.5 police officers per 1,000 members of the public, and that clearly isn't enough. The other problem they face here is an increasing murder rate. When Hugo Chavez first came to power, there were around 4,000 people murdered that year. Last year, it was estimated that 17,000 people were murdered in Venezuela.
To get a better understanding of what it's like to police this dangerous city, I'm going on patrol with the Quick Reaction Team. It's a tough job being a policeman here, as they are mistrusted and frequently targeted.
Esto es peligroso como casi está en una guerra. Y aquí han matado aproximadamente entre 60 y 50 policías solamente en Caracas por año.
¿Por año?
Por año.
The police are outgunned. Drug money allows the criminals access to just about every high-powered weapon on the market. But also Chavez has restricted them to carry only small arms. He did this as a punishment after the police attempted a coup against him in 2002. This not only prevents them from rising against Chavez again, but also puts them at a serious disadvantage when trying to tackle criminals.
Well, mate, you try and get anywhere here, it's just impossible.
Just 10 minutes into the patrol, and we are called to an emergency.
Right, we're on our way up into Petare. They've just had a radio call come through that a bunch of vigilantes basically have located a criminal and they're going to take him out of his house. They've broken into his house, they're going to drag him out. They said lynch, and I thought, well, you're going to hang him? They said, no, what they do is they cut him to pieces with machetes and then they set fire to them. There's no evidence that the body was ever there. There's already been 2 shootings, 2 people have been shot because they were... Well, they basically had the motorcycles taken from them. They wouldn't hand them over, so they got shot.
Dice que todos esos motorizados están saliendo, se están yendo porque está llegando la policía.
The supervisor's basically saying that these are the people that were going to lynch the guy that's been stealing motorcycles locally, but they've heard the police are on their way, So they've decided to run away.
Si no hubiesen llegado los policías, lo más probable es que lo hubiesen matado.
Apparently the motorcycle stealer, for want of a better word, he was seeking refuge in that little shanty house there when he was surrounded by apparently 60 guys on motorcycles. He fired a couple of rounds back. He kind of climbed across the roof spaces up here, firing rounds, and made his way onto the road up there. So at the moment, well, I said to the police, what happens now? And they said, ciao. So bye, baby, bye.
Sí, esto es uno de los barrios más peligrosos que tenemos en Caracas por las ventas de droga y las grandes cantidades de homicidios. Se enfrentan bandas de un lado y del otro. Acá aproximadamente pueden haber 5 o 6 bandas. Cada una domina un territorio, domina un sector. Si una banda de un sector invade el territorio de la otra, ¿okay? Le disparan. Y ahí es donde vienen y se ocasionan los homicidios. El policía en nuestro país muere en 3 circunstancias. Él muere más fuera de servicio que en servicio. Es la primera circunstancia. La segunda circunstancia en la cual muere, él muere a corta distancia. ¿Okay? Y la tercera circunstancia en la que muere mucho en vehículos de transporte público, vehículos particulares. Nuestro policía gana muy poco dinero y como gana muy poco dinero, vive en medio de los delincuentes. Acá viven muchos policías.
One of the things that the public Minister for Information went on the record and said that he believed that for every 5 crimes, a policeman was involved in one of those. How do you answer that accusation?
Yo pienso que sus datos no fueron asertivos, ya que, por supuesto, no es un secreto que dentro de las policías hay hombres que son también delincuentes, pero es la excepción, no es la mayoría. Policías que secuestran, hay policías que extorsionan, hay policías que cometen homicidios, pero no son la mayoría. ¿Okay? La mayoría de los policías son hombres dignos, son hombres trabajadores que ganamos muy poco.
There is little doubt that Venezuela is caught up in a crime epidemic. Supervisor Jerez is passionate about the problems his men face. However, with a reputation for being trigger-happy and corrupt, the people living in the barrios describe the police as just another criminal gang.
Somebody is murdered in this country every half an hour. 94% of those are killed with a firearm.
We've come to the Perez de Leon hospital on the outskirts of Petare, the largest slum in Caracas.
Been here a matter of minutes, and it's just come up to 5 to 9, and already there's 2 gunshot victims have just been brought in. Both look unconscious. And it's Friday night. That's when it spikes. It's Friday and Saturday night are the worst nights for homicides in this country. The information we've just been given is that the young man that's been shot in the head here and that was his wife have both been killed. They were robbed and he's actually a police officer. So they've been killed approximately 10 minutes ago. It's 10 to 9 on a Friday evening. So they were shot and robbed.
It took just seconds to take these 2 young lives, leaving a lifetime of grieving for the friends and family. Then amongst this chaos, we're faced with a surreal situation. News of our filming has reached military intelligence, who show up to try to stop us filming. They're concerned that we're going to show Chavez and his administration in a poor light. It seems that the harsh reality of living in this country is something the government does not want to be revealed.
Absolutely. But yeah, but also, if you cannot show other people's pain, how can you explain to other people the pain that they go through?
After much negotiation, they decide to leave. Meanwhile, the victims continue to roll in.
So a lady's been shot in the leg, is that correct?
Yeah. Gunshot, I think.
So this is the third gunshot wound.
Yeah.
And it's now, what, 9:30. So you've had basically 3 people, 2 dead, and someone shot in the leg, and it's only 9:30. So that's happening in like half an hour, really. How often does this happen on a Friday night?
Friday or Saturday is the worst days. Maybe 20, 25 gunshots every shift. We are seeing double the patient on the last year.
So it's doubled in a year.
The numbers.
And that's all gunshot wounds, yeah?
50%.
The previous 2, the ones that were dead on arrival, that looked to me like a hit. He's a police officer. He's been shot in the back of the head. His wife's been shot in the side. Looks to me like that wasn't a robbery. It looks to me like that was a hit, yeah?
Yeah. Most of the dead people come from gangs fighting. We have, in average, maybe 25 dead people to 35 every week just here in this county.
And obviously you have one of the worst barrios in the whole of Venezuela.
Yeah. But we have an increasing on the wounds and gunshots in the last 2 months.
It's gone
all over the country. So we are trying to figure out what's going on. We have a jail strike like 3 months ago, and some of the people in the jail just break the jail, and they are all over.
A lot of people just walked out of prison, yeah?
Yeah. So they are.
Since that's happened, since those people have got out of prison, there's been a massive increase in the amount of people being shot.
There is an increase in of the people every week in the last month or so.
In 2011, the Minister for Prisons stated that she would reduce overcrowding by releasing 40% of the prison population. Subsequently, crime rates soared. I watch on hopelessly as an under-resourced hospital tries to cope.
When you think about just how much money there is in this country, how much mineral wealth there is, how much oil there is, certain things are just not stacking up for me here. You know, the hospital is clearly under-resourced. There are so many people that have come through its doors tonight suffering from gunshot wounds. I've never been in a hospital and seen that many people come through that have been shot. But is this supposed to be some kind of utopian socialist dream? All I've witnessed so far is a nightmare.
But at the heart of this bad dream are the prisons themselves. I'm going inside the notorious PGV prison, home to criminal networks who not only control the prison system, but also the streets of Venezuela. Nowhere is the collapse of law and order in Venezuela more apparent than in its prisons. In a recent prison riot, inmates amassed enough firepower to hold off the army for a month. When the authorities finally gained control, they found grenades, submachine guns, and 45 kilos of cocaine. The prisons are lawless, guarded from the outside by the National Guard and run by the prisoners on the inside. Murders are frequent and go unpunished. Last year, 560 inmates were killed. I've been granted unprecedented access by the Don of this prison. He's an inmate called Leo who controls everything and everyone within this prison republic.
Leo, can you tell me how many inmates there are in this prison?
Ahorita estamos con un próximo de 4.200 personas.
For many people outside of this country, they would be shocked to know that there are no prison guards inside here and that you ultimately control the security, the food, and virtually everything that goes on here is under the supervision of the inmates. Is that the way it's always worked in the prisons here?
No, todo era distinto. Antes la Guardia Nacional no estaba aquí adentro, pero sí pasaba en la mañana y en las tardes a pasar números, pues. Pero de un tiempo para acá, nosotros mismos tomamos el penal completo, sino que nos respeten nuestros espacios. Y eso viene hace como de 5 años para acá, que ya las autoridades no están aquí adentro en el penal, pero sí en su área de trabajo, ¿no? Eso es así.
So those people carrying guns to protect themselves from other people inside here, or are they carrying them to protect themselves from the National Guard on the other side of the fence?
Bueno, amor, mira, nosotros tenemos las armas. El sábado no, porque te estoy diciendo que es el día de visita, pues. Hoy porque es un día de rutina, un día normal, así como cualquier día, pero hoy la tenemos, sí la tenemos en la mano, sí la tenemos para cuidarnos de las autoridades, porque hay muchas cosas que, bueno, han venido y nos han hasta masacrado, pero nosotros no hemos permitido eso, pues. ¿Me entiendes? Por eso que nosotros las tenemos. Y cualquier cosa, cualquier que se quiera volver loco o dar un cambio de gobierno, como dice aquí uno, entonces por eso que la tenemos, pues, para salvarnos de nuestras vidas.
Bearing in mind that 17,000 people were murdered in Venezuela last year, are you actually safer being here rather than outside?
Eso sí es verdad. Uno está más que cuidado aquí que en la calle, porque en la calle la inseguridad está demasiado desatada y entonces están matando a todos, pues.
There is little doubt that Leo is Caesar. He is surrounded by armed bodyguards. As with all leaders, there is always someone lurking in the shadows. After all, crime is big business. If someone is kidnapped in Venezuela, more often than not, the negotiations are handled by a crime boss doing time. This may appear like Disneyland for criminals, but your chances of survival here depends on 2 things: money and who you know. So just to explain now, with Leo, there is a prison within a prison. These people are the unwashed. These are the people that are not considered good enough to go beyond this point here. And I'm looking at the conditions there, and this is like leaving Switzerland, and we're just about to enter hell, Hades. Stepping into the untouchable side of the prison, I get a real sense of utter despair. The chemical smell of crack and the stench of rotting human effluent permeates the air. Most are unwell, malnourished, and some clearly have mental health problems. We've just come upstairs into the worst part of the prison. What's interesting for me now is his bodyguards have definitely got the weapons out, which is an indication to me is that this isn't the safe bit of the prison. To end up here, these men have been deemed of no use to Leo's prison republic, or they have broken its strict rules. If they should try to gain access back to the other side, they would suffer a severe beating, or could even be killed.
Yo le estaba diciendo a él que esto, así por eso que huele muy hediondo ahorita, pues, que huele hediondo porque fuma mucho y la penetración, y como está el piso sucio, por eso que huele un mal olor aquí, pues.
And who makes the decision, Leo, that when someone comes into this prison, that they end up in this side rather than in the good side?
No, eso ya nosotros tenemos ya economizado. Los que no sirven, como nosotros lo llamamos en el ámbito de nosotros, que no sirven, que no pueden vivir con nosotros, los hombres serios, no, ya tienen que refugiarse para este lado. Nosotros tenemos una iglesia aquí al lado, una iglesia que ahí viven gente que, como de aquí, que se haga alguna cosa que no es individuo, lo meten hacia la iglesia, para que se medio renaje y se quede tranquilo, pues.
The conditions here are so appalling, it's impossible to imagine how bad the church must be. How many people would actually try to sleep in this place? And is that why many of them are sleeping now, because they just can't sleep at night?
No se toman turno, duermen todos, pero duermen amorochados. Entonces, para que duerman tranquilos, tienen que guindar sus cosas arriba.
It's like insects in cocoons. It's like butterflies in cocoons. They don't smell as sweet, unfortunately. The smell is something, you know, when you can smell rancid sewage. It's sewage that's not been able to float away or get away or be washed away. That's what this place does. So. With no sanitation, Human waste is simply thrown out through the bars, where it rots in the tropical heat. Yeah, one question I have to ask is, how many of these people have actually been convicted, and how many are awaiting to be tried? And if they're waiting, how long have some of these people been waiting, and will they ever get out?
Eso es un proceso, ¿me entiendes? Eso es el proceso, porque hay así como hay rematado, hay procesado. Entonces hay que esperar el juez, el abogado de él que le mueva sus trámites por allá por la calle para que lo puedan llamar para los tribunales, o que esté procesado, que le toque su beneficio, que se puede ir para la calle. Ese es el proceso de... Bueno, no es todo, porque me incluyo porque estoy preso igual de todos.
Clearly, having money inside a prison helps. Obviously, these people here, they have nothing. I mean, how do they feed themselves? How do they survive here?
No, ellos sobreviven porque todo, aquí hay un comedor ahí que le hace la comida a toda la población. Y le traen su comida, le reparten su comida, porque no es porque tenga plata, no. Ellos están así porque el consumo de su químico y su cosa lo lleva a esto, a lo que están ahorita por aquí. Pues.
Where are you from?
Where we're from?
Yeah.
London. Where are you from?
London, Hollanda.
You're a Netherlander. Pleased to meet you. How comes you are here?
6 years before.
6 years. How did you end up here?
For drugs.
Trafficking, yeah? You were sentenced for how long?
8 years.
What's it like?
Oh, very bad.
Hell?
It's in hell over here.
And how is your health? You're not well?
No, the embassy do nothing over here.
I mean, just tell me, what's your day-to-day existence like? I mean, do you get enough food?
Yes, do you know, I must work for my food.
You work for your food, so
yeah.
you fix things and then you get food, yeah?
Yeah. And I do never again.
You'll never do it again?
No.
What were you trying to traffic? What drugs were you taking?
Cocaine.
Cocaine, yeah? Where were you taking it to? To Amsterdam?
Yes.
Yeah. How old were you then?
20 years. I'm a child.
You're a child. You're not a child anymore, though, are you?
No, not anymore, but when I was 20 years.
And what are your family? How do your family feel?
I call my family much.
You can when you can.
They send me money.
Yeah.
Clothes, shoes.
Yeah.
What I need. But I need the embassy to bring me outside.
Thank you very much. Eh?
Thank you.
God bless. I thought the prison that I entered originally was pretty appalling, but I was not prepared for what I've just witnessed. Hugo Chavez himself said that the prisons in Venezuela were the gateway to the fifth circle of hell. The people in there have no hope, and literally, they're just waiting to die. It's impossible to list the number of human rights violations I've witnessed in this prison. It's highly questionable how anyone can be rehabilitated or could ever be part of normal society should they ever be released. It's not surprising this prison often erupts into violence, as there are all types of weapons and plenty of narcotics. And you see this all over the prison, basically, there's crack cocaine here, and powdered cocaine, and marijuana, and you can you buy it off him, and you can even use his pipe to smoke it. The main business here is selling drugs. At the weekend, prison visitors can buy any amount they want and take it back outside with little fear of being searched by the guards. It's rumoured that some of the guards are either in on the deal or they're too terrified to stop it happening. So in my hand is some crack. That's $1.20. So it's around about 50, 60, 70 pence. And marijuana. It's about £2 for that, but apparently it's incredibly strong stuff. Not that I'm about to find out, because I'm too paranoid already. Leo's cell is luxurious and confirms who has ultimate power in this prison. We know that President Chavez has put millions and millions of dollars into the prison system, but it's been up to you guys, the inmates, to improve the prisons here. That money seems to never have arrived. That down to the people that work for him. Do you think that the people that should have instigated the changes here should be held to account?
Mira, una de las cosas que uno se viene viendo hace mucho tiempo, que el presidente Chávez siempre da para la humanización en las cárceles, pero ya son cosas que lo que tiene a la costilla, que cónchale, él tiene que poner punto en el asunto, porque en realidad si todo lo que tú viste aquí, eso nosotros nos sale de nuestro bolsillo y del aporte que pone cada uno de internos, 20 bolívares semanal para tener nuestro penal, porque mientras que estemos viviendo aquí, es de nosotros.
You'll be getting out of here in a year's time. You have a little baby on the way. You already have 2 other children. While you're in here, you're very much protected out on the streets. It's not going to be so easy to protect you. Are you worried about being hurt when you leave here? And also, do you think you may have to return to prison?
Bueno, el día que me vaya para la calle, eso es que tengo que reintegrarme en la sociedad, que yo estoy dispuesto a reintegrarme en la sociedad. No estar, cónchale, no me quiero ser carne de presidio, como dice uno. Y de regresar aquí a este lugar, cónchale, no lo voy a decir que nunca, que no, porque uno no sabe cuándo le vuelve a pasar otra cosa a uno y uno tiene que volver a pagar el delito lo que está, pero quiero rehacer mi vida en la calle y estar tranquilo y olvidarme de muchas cosas, porque son casi 10 años presos, privado de libertad. De los 18 años presos no he disfrutado nada, y si no, Dios me da vida bastante para disfrutar en la calle, lo voy a disfrutar. Y si Dios me tiene resguardado aquí es por algo. Propósito más adelante me tiene Dios y bueno, y estoy capacitado para presentar ese propósito que me tiene Dios en la calle.
Blind faith may help, but to survive here, you have to become part of the system and all that entails, which ultimately means committing crimes against others and the state. So far, I've witnessed a police force under pressure, a hospital trying to cope, and a failed prison system. Yet despite all this, Hugo Chavez is still regarded by his people as a champion of the poor and has unrivaled popularity. Venezuela's problems aren't just confined to Caracas. As part of the Bolivarian Revolution, land was taken from the rich. It was then divided and given to the poor. But there still remains a huge economic divide between the haves and the have-nots. Today, a growing problem for Venezuelans' elite is the fear of kidnapping, which is reaching epidemic proportions. The aim of the Bolivarian Revolution was to redistribute wealth to the masses. It's had some success, but there's still a large divide between the haves and the have-nots. For the poor and desperate, crime has become a way of life. One of the most lucrative ways to make money is to prey on the rich. We're on our way to meet one of the estimated 18,000 criminal gangs that exist here in Venezuela. Many of them specialize in kidnapping, a crime that's rising faster here than anywhere else in the world. Last year, over 1,000 people were held for ransom. Kidnapping rates have increased by over 400%. 2 to 3 kidnappings happen every day. We've arranged to meet a gang of kidnappers in a secret location high up in a barrio on the outskirts of the city.
How do you guys earn a living? How do you put food in your family's stomachs?
Robando.
A la pista, robando carros.
Secuestrando personas, robando un negocio, cualquier cosa así, pues.
In reference to kidnapping, can you talk to me about the process of how you go about it? And most importantly, I guess, how you exchange the person for the money without getting caught?
Primero, estudia a la persona así. Siguiéndolo, dónde trabaja, con quién vive. Estudiándola, como quien dice, desde adentro y de raíz, pues. Hasta la de agarrarle la caída en ese procedimiento que la estás estudiando, en la caída más débil, pues, en lo que pague, como quien dice, donde esté el momento más papayito, no la atrapa. Tercero, las caletas son partes donde montañosas, pueden ser sitios muy alejanos a la civilización para que nunca la encuentren. Llegan las 78 horas, las 74, las 72, que ya ustedes en el combo se reúnen. Mira, la señora tiene tanto, ¿lo aceptamos o lo dejamos? Si de repente uno acepta lo que ella no vaya en cantidad, uno busca el sitio donde uno va a hacer cobre, partes lejanas, estudia el carro, estudia todo de fondo también, cuando se vaya a hacer rescate. X, no pagan, o si pagan, o pagan y están montados con los PTJ, las personas que están secuestradas automáticamente se les quita la vida.
The average express kidnapping lasts a couple of days and carries a ransom of around $5,000. Kidnapping a high-profile victim can make thousands more.
I want our audience to have some understanding of just how violent your lives are. Can you give me any indication as to how many people that you've killed?
Eso es un cuento muy largo, porque cada quien por lo menos ha matado una parranda de gente. Como no lo mata él, lo puedo matar yo. Yo he matado una cantidad de gente que por lo menos, cuando no lo mato, como quien dice, encausado, como quien dice, con él, o con cualquiera de los demás compañeros, he matado una cantidad de personas, como robando, como problemas, como X, que yo a mi conciencia que yo tengo, ni siquiera ni me acuerdo. Pero he matado burro de personas.
Nosotros en estos días estábamos hablando así, los muertos que conocemos este año, que vamos a matar los que hay años, van como 50, ¿viste? Hablándote claro.
Como dice, de conciencia del carro.
Lo que va de años, así de todos juntos, lo que hay de años.
Do you think this will just stay the same way? And what do you think about your future? Will you stay where you are in the group, in the gang, or will you try and get out eventually?
Y yo no antes no cargaba una pistola para arriba, es más, con decirte, no me gusta el villaneo, no me gusta robar, no me gusta secuestrar, ¿verdad? Y también quiero surgir por otra parte, pero aquí donde estoy viviendo, yo no puedo soltar esta pistola, ¿ah? Porque me tumban la puerta y cuando lleguen, me van a matar. No, que no me gustaría que mi hijo me diera un ataúd.
So this is a sort of safe house, a place where the gang can come and hide out if it's going kinetic, if it's going bing, bing, bang, bang, yeah?
De 8 a 7 pistoleros duermen aquí.
8 people.
8 personas duermen, mientras que los demás compañeros se quedan en la garita, cuidándonos que no se metan los problemas, ni los policías, ni cosas así, pues. Aquí es donde dormimos todos. Ahí están colchones, colchonetas, sábanas, ropa.
It's good business, huh? You've got to bring them back sort of in the state that you took them, otherwise it's bad for business, huh?
Claro, sin maltratarlo, ni mucho menos. No le dan cuidado, claro, tan como quien dice, privado de libertad con uno, porque uno quiere el dinero, pero así como uno los priva de libertad, uno trata de cuidarlo, ¿entiendes? La única forma en el sentido que uno lo maltrate, en el sentido que las familiares llamen a cuerpos policiales y quieran interceptar con uno o atraparlo a uno, y uno llega a la decisión y lo saca del sitio donde uno los tiene para otro sitio para matarlo. Lo deja tirado por una autopista o X, pues.
Do you seriously think that you can carry on doing this, and are you not concerned that you will get killed?
Porque usted piense que yo pueda seguir en esta vida, es muy fuerte. En realidad es muy fuerte. demasiados problemas. Porque cuando yo busque manera de, como quien dice, guindar los guantes, relajarme, puede ser la manera que me maten. Entonces, a mi criterio y a mi mente, tengo que seguir con mi vida, si quiero guardarla, si quiero vivir un poquito más. La única manera de poder yo salvarme es que me vaya bien lejos, donde nadie me conozca y nadie me vaya a quitar la vida.
Basically what he's shooting at are the shoes of one of the guys that he actually killed. He shot 2 guys just around here. He came in from the opposing barrio, and I've seen the photographs of the 2 dead bodies. I don't think they're making it up. And just to show the other barrio that they killed 2 of theirs, they've thrown their shoes over the power lines there. It's very easy to forget sometimes that, you know, these men, you know, as they said, they live by the lead and they die by the lead. These people are incredibly poor. There's no social services to look after them. And I'm no way am I condoning their actions, but you have to ask, you know, what else do they have? And for me, again, you know, it comes back to this thing that continuously hits you in the face here, is there is so much wealth here, there is so much money, and you've still got people who are starving and fighting to survive and kidnapping to survive and murdering to survive.
Looking back, I'm shocked at the state this country is in. The pointless murders, the abuse of human rights. For a socialist country with so much wealth, there is still so much inequality here.
Whatever the future holds for Hugo Chavez, he will always be remembered in the barrios as a champion of the poor. But it staggers me that such a wealthy, intelligent country that helps out others with subsidised oil should have such a fragmented infrastructure and a crime rate that is out of control. It seems to me that everything hinges on one man and one commodity, and if either of them should fall, the country would be plunged into chaos. Hugo Chavez's political opponents may or may not play games with the crime statistics, but the simple fact is this: a country blessed with such natural resources should not have a population living in constant fear.
You can see Ross coming face to face with armed Venezuelan kidnappers and hear the crew talk about filming inside the prison at sky.com/Ross. We'll find it on demand now. And in next week's all-new Extreme World, Ross is exploring issues a little closer to home as he heads to Glasgow.